What's up, you guys? Steven with Magic Meadow Money. Christmas came early for all the Delver lovers out there in the world, for all those players who just love Delver and wish it was modern playable, but it frankly hasn't been, just for years. It's been so long since Delver of Secrets has been good enough to play in modern, but oh boy, Dragon's Rage Channeler, that is a good one. Now, when we say the new Delver, of course we mean that it's a 1-mana 1/1 that can become a 3-power flyer, which is a really good threat in the game of Magic. Delver hasn't quite been powerful enough, but Dragon's Rage Channeler is nutso. Now, what I think would be cool, let's give every color a Delver, huh? Every color, you get a Delver, you get a Delver, every color gets a 1/1 that can become a 3-power flyer. That would be interesting, huh? Okay, we're gonna stay focused here and just talk about Dragon's Rage Channeler and why this card is so good. And yeah, whether or not it gets banned, I don't know. I don't really care if it gets banned or not. I just like talking about this card and really diving into why this card is just so powerful. If you like this video and you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit subscribe and join the Wolf Pack. So the reason why this card is so good is obviously not just because it can turn into a 3-power flyer, which is good, Delver can do that too, but the fact that you get card selection with the Surveil triggered ability whenever you cast a non-creature spell, that is powerful. My oh my, and the fact that you get card selection in red is just really, really good. Right? That's something that red doesn't typically get access to, and that's the whole point of the color pie, is that you know different colors have different strengths and weaknesses, but once you start converging and giving other colors strengths, blue and black, into another color, red, you typically get something really, really powerful. Now, normally, to balance that out, you have gold cards that are harder to cast, right? Different mana requirements. But in this case, it's just one red, and it is really good. And the fact that you're getting card selection for 0 mana, that's a triggered ability, whew, really powerful. This card selection is just really good. It allows you to keep 1 and 2 landers all the time, and then in the mid and late game, it allows you to avoid getting flooded. And that way, it's kind of like Brainstorm. It's really, really powerful. But anyway, we're not going to talk about it being Brainstorm. It's not that level, but it is really strong, and it actually does also become card draw when you include graveyard synergies, and then you're getting things like Kroxa into your graveyard. That's just insane. So why did they have to do Surveil instead of doing Scry? Because Surveil allows you to have graveyard synergies and potentially create card draw, and the reason being, of course, is the way it's conditioned to become a 3-power flyer is by achieving Delirium. So it's by getting those 4 different card types in your graveyard, so it has to be able to fuel itself. Well, it doesn't have to, but that's how they designed the card to be really powerful. In that regard, it actually reminds me a lot of Jace Vin's Prodigy, where the card just fuels itself, right? It's activated ability, triggered in the case of Dragon Rage Channeler, but with JVP, it's an activated ability that then leads to itself getting to transform into the new powerful version. That's why they chose Surveil over Scry, I assume, yeah, right? The fact that it allows its own, create its own world, it's its own little game, it's its own enabler, but it's really insane when you start throwing spells into your graveyard that can come from your graveyard. Now, for those of you who are maybe newer to Magic or newer to Modern, let's just be clear. Modern, for many years, has mostly been dominated by unfair decks. Like, when you have such a large card pool, you're really just fighting uphill battles when you're trying to play creatures and put a Tarmogoyf onto the battlefield and actually win the game in that way. There's just so many interactions with cards over the years and years, 20 years of cards. There's so many powerful interactions that get created that it's just inevitable that combos happen all the time. Now, in recent years, Wizards has been much more prone to ban these types of cards and saying, hey, we're listening to the player base. Players don't like when combos are just too oppressive or too dominant or too much in the format. And if you have things that are just really hard to interact with and really powerful graveyard synergies and things that are happening too quickly, Wizards has been more on the ban train with those types of cards, which, as one of those people who tries to fight the uphill battle and fight the good fight of actually playing creatures and engaging in combat in Modern and interacting with my opponent, things that I particularly enjoy, I'm a fan of them getting rid of combos so much. So with that in mind, one reason why this card is so powerful is that it really rewards you for committing to the battlefield versus a player who doesn't. And what I mean by that is, you think of it, it's a 1 mana, dies to removal, right? So it's a 1 card, 1 mana, and your opponent spends 1 mana and 1 card to lightning bolt it. But while that card is on the battlefield, you may have had a chance to get its triggered ability happen, right? It's on the battlefield and you immediately cast some type of, cantrip or something like that, or you cast your own lightning bolt, or in response to them casting a bolt, you decide to cast something. That allows you to get a bit of an advantage even though you both played 1 mana and 1 card, you still got a triggered ability, so it rewards you for being willing to commit to the battlefield. And I really like that incentive to say, hey, if you actually want to play creatures and you want to make the game more engaging and it has combat and interaction, you don't just want to sit there and play solitaire like, other combo players like to do, you get rewarded for that in that even though both players spent 1 mana, 1 card, you got some card selection, you got Surveil, so good for you for committing to the battlefield. Now we should mention that these people did decide to put at least one downside onto the card and say, hey, when it achieves Delirium and it is now a 3/3 flyer, it does have to attack every turn. So it does have a little bit of a downside, even if it doesn't feel like a major downside. Sometimes that does mean you have to just suicide attack your creatures in, which, that's really tough. But overall, it does limit your options. It doesn't allow you to have the option of blocking. And even if you're not swinging into a bigger, flyer or reach creature, even if you're not doing that, it still doesn't allow you the option to hang back and block. So it does limit your options, which is kind of funny on a card that is built around giving you so many options when it comes to surveilling every time you cast a non-creature spell. Now, something that is really key about this card being not just way too powerful and way too oppressive and way too popular and everything like that is the fact that it literally dies to everything. It actually has 1 toughness, right? This isn't just like it dies to most removal. If it can deal damage, it dies. Wrenn and 6, Lava Dart, Liliana the Last Hope, it dies to anything with just the 1 toughness. I do think that is really, really key and important. Now, I highly doubt they'll ever ban this card, but one thing that I think would be interesting and cool is to just, put this card on timeout. Now, not anytime soon, not even in the next 5 years, but 6, 7, 8 years from now, we're all chilling. 9 years from now, it's 2030, we're all hanging out, everyone's just playing Modern, having a grand old time, casting Dragon's Rage Channelers because it's still a super powerful, relevant card. I mean, I think this card will be relevant until the end of time. It's just that strong. And say, hey, it's been 9 years, we're going to give this thing a timeout. We're going to ban it for a year. And you even you just put that in the announcement. You say, hey, it's not banned, it's just suspended for a year. Yeah, I think that would be something they could do in the future, and maybe they introduce that in the future as the game continues to grow and just say, hey, we're not banning this card, it's not oppressive, we just want to shake up the format, and we're just going to give it a timeout for just a year. Why not? I think that's a great solution to these cards that aren't necessarily too oppressive, but they're just really, if you get sick of them after years of playing against them. Now, whether or not something like that happens, I don't really know, but one thing's for certain. Between Lightning Bolt, Monastery Swiftspear, and now the new cards of Ragavan and Dragon's Rage Channeler, and even Unholy Heat, red is nuts.